Hello everyone, and welcome to GameTherapy. So here's a question. Is life fair? It's a question that I feel like would have always been asked since the dawn of humankind, because no matter who you are, no matter where you're from, or no matter what you do, something bad is inevitably going to happen that will make you ask this question to yourself. And even if you're one of the absolute lucky ones where everything good has somehow happened, chances are you'll have heard or have been exposed to something bad happening to someone else that will make you feel a little bit confused internally, enough to ask, is life fair for everyone around you? Unless you're good at ignoring the bad and not letting it bring you down, or if you have little to no sympathy to anyone else but yourself. Whatever the case may be, the question still stands, and truthfully, I'm not sure if there really is a definitive answer to it. One interesting take I've heard on this is from the late great comedian Patrice O'Neill, who once said and believed that life is fair, and actually very fair. The counterpoint that he added was that people weren't fair. He explains that life itself gives you everything around you to help you survive and thrive, like water, air, and shelter, but that these aspects have been corrupted by people who have somehow or in some way chosen to capitalize off it, to monetize and profit from them, or to just basically screw you over by taking more of it for them and leaving nothing for yourself. In general, I think his argument was that life is fair and allows most people the opportunity to have freedom, enjoy life, and make a decent living for themselves, but that humankind has made things more difficult and has changed things for different groups of people. For people who just screw others over or who do bad things to others, who lie, cheat, or steal, or even for the people who say work for insurance companies that make things difficult for people to claim benefits from, or for something as basic as the persons responsible for deciding to charge people for parking. That make you sometimes question, could things be a little bit easier in life despite whatever the economic benefits from the situation? For me, I see no distinction between people and life, so to think of them as two different things doesn't make sense, even though I can kind of see Patrice's point. Life is everything around you, which includes people. So if people are unfair, then that means parts of life are unfair because people are part of that life. Ultimately, this might be the closest answer or best guess to the original question, is life actually fair? With the answer being that, well, parts of life are fair and everything else, well, not so much. I think for the majority of people in developed countries, life is incredibly good and the standard of living is so high that we should really be grateful for how lucky we have it compared to the rest. The fact that just by random happenstance, you're born into a country with a high quality for living that fosters safety and freedom and which allows so many opportunities for education, healthcare, and for work is just truly incredible. And in realizing that, life for you is probably actually more than fair. It's been overly generous. But it's when you realize that not everyone has been afforded that same situation that then makes you think and feel that, well, despite life being very fair to you, it hasn't been so much for those who are not in those similar circumstances. By the luck of the draw, there are people in different parts of the world that have it worse and that might never have it any better. And because of that, life is unfortunately very unfair. So what do you do? And is there anything you can learn from thinking that, well, life is fair for a lot of people, probably myself included, but it's also pretty crappy for others, and you know what? Not everything in my own life is always fair as it seems. More importantly, does then the good outweigh the bad? Is life more fair than it is unfair? That's probably an impossible question to answer objectively because, for starters, it's incredibly difficult to objectify everyone's fairness in the whole world. And secondly, it's more likely that the bad outweighs the good because anything bad in these terms would usually mean the difference between life and death. And how could you justify living well as a good thing that's worth the cost of having someone else dying of poverty or starvation in another land? You just can't equate the two. There's no way to justify the good or the bad. But at the same time, I don't think it has to be all doom and gloom, because while there is so much unfairness in this world, I think that slowly and over time in the future, we've proven that as a human collective overall, we're progressing more and more to providing better standards of living across the entire planet. If we look back at the past and see how many generations have come before us who had to experience living in crazier situations without so much access to food, water, shelter, let alone the technology that we've developed and used today, you'd eventually see a pattern that every year that passes has made the standard of living on planet Earth better and better and better for more people altogether. Human civilization has been through a lot and is still going through so many challenges, but there's also been so much improvement and advances that are still continuing to grow till this day. So much so that in the future, to me, they suggest that hopefully the two sides of this fairness scale will eventually be tipped onto the good end, where we see a world that is fairer than it is harsher to its inhabitants. Don't get me wrong, I'm not sure if we'll ever have a perfect idealistic world that's 100% completely free from everything bad, but I do believe we're getting closer and closer to reducing how much bad there is out there, and that one day we'll eventually cross a threshold to get to that positive fair side until we reach our practical maximum percentage of fairness. I don't know what that number would be, but I trust that it will get as close to 100% as we can get it to be. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.
It's coming from this way. Okay. Watch out here. Yeah, that we're high up